All right, episode 88, Life and Tribe podcast. Welcome back. We have an exciting guest today, Mr. YouTube handles RanToJapan. It's Jake Barraclough. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, that's it. Jake Barraclough.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds better with a British accent, but yeah, I'm glad I got it right. But yeah, so funny story, and I was the one messaging you, Jake, and I saw you running in Japan some, but I told my buddy I run with at lunch sometimes that I was going to Japan. I was gonna, continue training there, and so I was just gonna run every day and find a park. And he found your YouTube channel, and he was like, "Oh, you should message this guy to run." And I saw your Strava, and uh, you're a bit higher level than me for sure. I saw your weekly mileage, and I was like, yeah, like probably shouldn't hop in with those guys. But I didn't think I would see you in Tokyo. It's the biggest city on earth, so I just didn't think anything of it. And then first day at Yoyogi Park, I see you ripping some kilometers with your squad. And so I was like, what are the odds? So then I was like, I got to message him and get him on the pod. And here you are.
Hey, so YouTube's doing its thing then. It's pushing it to the right people. That's good to hear. Yeah, your yogis are such a good spot. It's like I feel like every runner, if you're anywhere near central Tokyo, that's basically the place to be. There's not a lot of great running spots, but yeah, your Yogi Park, oh, it's a classic. I'm there every day.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah. It's the only place you can get off road as well. There's like a little kind of 2 mile like trail bit around the outside. So just to kind of save the legs when I'm hammering those miles out, yeah, it's good for a little double to just get on that trail because yeah, the rest of it is just hard concrete everywhere. All these like stop signs. You probably experienced it running a bit around Tokyo. That it's not the best city for running, I'd say.
Yeah, it was funny. So I'm like, I was staying in Shinjuku, and so that's like a really for people listening. That's like it's a good spot for tourists. Like, there's a lot of good food spots, stores, stuff like that. And it was a 2 mile run to Yoyogi from there. So, I'm running there in the morning, and it's just like a sea of Japanese businessmen and like really nice suits, and then here I am in like running shorts and half tights. And I'm an American guy too, so they're, kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. So I felt kind of awkward and wasn't sure if I should even be running in that area. I don't know, the rules in Japan or anything. So, we made it work. So I'm
Shinjuku is
sure,
actually where I live, so yeah, I can feel you on that.
yeah. Oh, dude, it's so busy. Yeah. So I was watching one of your videos, and I think you said the train station in Shinjuku, 3 million people go through it every day, which is just, I mean, for context, we live in Louisville, Kentucky, and I think the greater area, so like all the suburbs included and stuff, is about a little short of 1 million people. So I'm thinking about that times three, just going through one train station in a day. I mean, that just shows you like how crazy Tokyo is in terms of population. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, fully next level. Like, oh yeah, I'm from London, but London feels quiet. It feels like a little countryside village in comparison to Tokyo. It's like you can basically get a train in any direction, and after about an hour, you're finally getting to the edge of the city. But yeah, half an hour in, you're still in Tokyo. It's insane. Just stretches on forever. And Shinjuku especially, it's like that's basically my local station. So I'm a 10-minute walk pretty much from there. Luckily, I'm on the sort of quieter side. But yeah, if you try and run through there during rush hour or even in the morning, like you said, it's funny. You got the guys going to work at kind of 6 a.m. and then also people coming back from like the clubs and the bars at like 5, 6. So you got this weird mix, and then there's me, yeah, in like little short shorts running to the park. So it's an odd one.
Are people
You,
coming back from the clubs on weekdays?
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. The sort of businessman, the classic like businessman night out. They'll, so the final train in Japan is midnight. So basically, if you miss that train, the next one will be 5 a.m. in the morning. So you kind of have
oh,
to commit basically to the full night. So these salarymen, these businessmen will go to like a work party just like midweek. and then pretty much stay out till 5 a.m. in their suits, and then just go straight into work. It's not uncommon to just go straight from the night out back. I don't know how they do it. Machines.
Jake, something I was kind of interested in was like how the people, I guess like the younger crowd dresses in Japan. It's like super interesting. Like they kind of go for like the K-pop look, so that they have like dyed hair and like the baggy clothes. I felt like I was like I needed to step up my fashion a bit when I was there. I kind of dressed like a dad. So do you feel like you like have to really try to fit in in terms of how you dress living there or no?
I'd say I've not quite hit that K-pop demographic yet, but yeah, I'd say it's a full mix with Tokyo because it's so big. There's so many different areas. There's like certain ones you go to where everyone's got the dyed hair. Actually, the so I live right next to this university. It's like this massive arts university. So it's like art and fashion. So it couldn't be more like that. It's like everyone's coming in these like mad costumes and stuff. The full on dyed hair. I'm just usually wearing like trackies, casual like sportswear. So I'm probably seen as very uncool.
Well, I'd love to. Well, I want to get to like why you moved to Tokyo, obviously, but just to get some background, where are you originally from, and then when did you start running?
So from London, I was born in London, and when I was about 7, moved out to the countryside, so about an hour north of London, and started running probably around 10, 11, just kind of some school races, and then maybe joined a club when I was about 12 or so, and it kind of picked up from there.
How
What
popular is running in the UK? I assume like most people try out for soccer, and then maybe there's like a couple other secondary sports, and then like running might not be as popular.
Everyone. I'm sorry, I can't call it soccer, but football. Yeah,
It's
everyone. It's the classic. When I lived in America, I had that problem. Just I couldn't bring myself to say soccer. But yeah, everyone loves the football, British football out there. So pretty much everyone grows up playing that. That and then also rugby is pretty big. A bit of cricket. So I did all of those sports as well when I was younger. And then yeah, running seemed more as a punishment, like fitness before
yeah.
maybe like before those team sports, or like you do something wrong, you get sent on a lap around the field. So it's probably not everyone's first choice.
what so I know you said you went to grad school in the US. Where'd you go to school and how did you end up where you ended up? I'm curious because it's a very particular school where like you know, it's an art school, right? So how'd you end up there?
Yeah, I somehow so I have no interest in art whatsoever, but basically I was looking for yeah, it was a strange fit, I'll be honest. But I was so a lot of people in the UK after their undergrad, um, people that are interested in sport will go out to America because we don't have scholarships in the UK. So it's I couldn't believe that. Yeah, you can get fully funded, basically trips that cover your masters and everything in the States. Um, and so I kind of saw it as like a 2-year holiday. Basically, it was like, yeah, I can go out there, everything's covered. It sounds like the perfect deal. Um, and at the time, I wasn't taking running too seriously, so I couldn't go to, or yeah, it was way harder to go to like an NCAA, like D1 or whatever. So I was looking, and I think I was a little older as well. So there was some issues with like the time, like how long you'd been at uni. So I went to NAIA. So yeah, way lower standard basically, but they managed to offer a scholarship, and I kind of wanted somewhere with nice weather, like by the coast, and Savannah, Georgia. Yeah, tick those boxes. So then I ended up, in this art school. I actually did business there, so it was basically the only non-art course that they offered. I think for pretty much people like me. So it ended up all right.
I gotta ask, where do you prefer to live? The States, London, or Japan?
Oh,
You've been all
that's a
around.
tough one. Yeah, I feel like they're so different, all of them. Oh, it's hard to know long term. I mean, right now I'm loving Japan. I feel like I'm in no rush to go home. I can't stand the British weather, just raining 90% of the time, grey, depressing. Yeah, I don't mind. The Japan weather's definitely better. I do like London though. I'd say if I could just travel a bit, like the summers here are horrendous. It's so like even compared to kind of Florida, I feel like it's much more humid, much hotter. So that's kind of unbearable. So that's the time when going back to Europe's ideal, like heading home. So yeah, I can't choose.
How long were you in Savannah? 2 full years?
It was because of COVID, it got extended a bit, so it was like 2.5 in the end.
That's so funny that you did business there. I didn't know that because like that's like one of like the art schools to go to in the US. Like
Yeah.
people really want to go there. So that's hilarious that you went there not for art.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
But
when I'd travel around the States, like randomly in like California, if I was wearing like a SCAD shirt, people would be like, "Oh, SCAD!" Like I know SCAD, the art school. It's like, oh, I didn't realize it was that popular, but yeah, I was.
yeah.
It was nothing to do with art. The reason I went.
Was it like was it kind of culture shock for you at all in the US? Was there anything that was like really different for you or was it pretty similar to home?
It was, I mean, more similar than Japan is to home. But I'd still say there's a fairly big culture shock. Probably, I'd say the kind of sense of humor. I'd say Brits are way more sarcastic. Um, and I'd say Americans are just much more outgoing, friendly. Like if I was just randomly sitting on a bus, you just have people coming up and just chatting to you, which back home would seem very strange. And in Japan would be unheard of completely. They're like the complete opposite end. Like everyone's super reserved, like in a bubble. I feel like it's pretty much the opposite. Yeah, in America, it's like super outgoing, super friendly. So yeah, it was different, but it was cool. Yeah, experience.
So
Do
what'd you
they have
do when
some
you
different distances in cross country in NAIA, or is it the standard like 8K then like 10K?
Yeah, it's I think it was 8K was standard, yeah, mostly. I think nationals was also 8K. Um,
Okay,
but apart from that, yeah, I think it was the same.
because I've heard of some lower divisions, maybe they're like junior college level or something, having some like weird distances, like pretty not standard stuff. But that's yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, actually, the one big thing they did have that was different was for track, for outdoor. They had a marathon, so full marathon, which
Oh
is
wow,
so actually that's kind of what got me really into running. I went out to the States. I was doing mixed martial arts, like MMA, as well as running and kind of balancing the two, but
whoa,
not kind of fully committed. Yeah, like complete opposite. And then it was actually that marathon when I found out there was like a marathon for nationals that I kind of started training for that and was loving it, and then got really into the running and ended up just near the end of my time in America, like quitting MMA and deciding basically 2 years ago, yeah, that I was going to go all in on running uh, and training for this marathon.
how'd you do in the marathon?
I actually managed to win it. The standard was way lower. Like yeah, compared to like NCAA, it's a complete different game. But yeah, it was pretty cool to win that.
Do you remember your time?
Yeah, oh, what was it? So it was on the south coast. It was like what is it? Like 90-degree weather. So we kind of cruised it. I feel like maybe 2:36 or something. Like so, yeah. Like literally, we're like jogging through halfway, and then it kind of picked up the second half. But yeah,
was
the
that your
weather was
debut?
quite brutal. That was my debut. Yeah.
You ran a 2:36 marathon in 90 degrees for your debut. That's
It was a
that's
solid effort. I guess training in Savannah helped. It was similar weather, so at least yeah, I was used to it. A lot of the guys were coming from up north. I think it was a little bit of a shock getting hit with that weather.
dude. Imagine if you had like a 40-degree day that day.
I mean, they started it at like 5:30 maybe in the morning, so I think they were trying to beat the heat. But yeah, it got rough the second half.
Oh my gosh.
So what'd you do after you finished at SCAD? Did you move back to the UK for a bit?
Yeah, that's it. So I moved back for it was maybe 6 months or so. And I was working as a teaching assistant, like in a high school. And during that, so I applied for this program to get to Japan. So I kind of decided at the end of America, I read this book about like running in Japan, learned about how kind of mad the scene was here, like the running scene, and wanted to find a way that I could get out there. So I kind of went home and was basically just filling time, trying to earn a bit of money while trying to find a way to get out there to Japan.
It's funny. I was watching your first YouTube video, and you were talking about, yeah, you read that book and got into Japanese running. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Jake and Zane Robertson. I'm sure you know who. Do you know who they are from New Zealand?
Yeah.
I kind of thought of them in relation to your story because, yeah, they're in New Zealand. They loved running, and then when they were teenagers, I think, or in their early 20s, they like completely moved their lives to Kenya, and they like went all in on running in Kenya, and they became world class. It was crazy. They both did. So yeah, it's you have like a kind of similar story moving to Japan.
The Japan version, it's true. Yeah, I hadn't really seen anyone do it before. The Japan one, I know a lot of people know about Kenya, like a lot of Europeans and Americans go out there for training, but I thought Japan was so underrated, and I didn't know anything about it before until I think because everything's in Japanese, the biggest problem that like the running scene here is massive, like internally, but outside of Japan, no one knows about it because yeah, with that language barrier, it's impossible. I remember trying to research before coming and just finding anything in English, any details about the training or whatever, was almost impossible.
Dude, before we talk about Japan, you want to do some rapids, Scotty?
Let's do it. All right, Mr. Jake. We're going to do rapid fire questions. Just to explain, this is a part of the program where I ask you a couple questions, like 15, and they're completely random, meaningless, most of them, and some kind of weird, and your only job is to not elaborate. So just answer as short as possible, and yeah, you ready?
Got you. All right, hit me.
All right. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Caramel.
Ooh,
What
nice.
is your favorite place you've ever ran?
Kyoto, Japan.
Why?
It's so much better than Tokyo.
What is your go-to daily trainer shoe?
The Nike Vomera.
It's like
Never
a
heard of
max
that.
cushion,
I'm
trainer.
not a big Nike guy. What is your go-to race shoe?
Nike Alpha Fly or Vaporfly, depending on the
Yeah.
distance.
You ran in the Alpha Fly 3s, I'm assuming?
That's it. Yeah. Marathon, they're my go-to.
Yeah, for sure, man. I asked our last guest this, and it was a really funny question. What sport would be the funniest to turn into a contact sport?
Cross country, 100%. I've thought about this before. Could get violent, get some elbows out.
And you like got to stay in bounds too. That would be
Oh, for sure.
the last guy. He said golf, and thinking about golf being a contact sport like rocked my world. I thought about that like for a while. What is the most miles you've ever ran in one day?
I work in Ks, 60K. What's that? 38 miles.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
36, 30 to 38, something like that.
What is your favorite cross training activity?
I hate cross training, man. But biking for fitness, but I hate every second of it. But I think it's the most beneficial.
If you had to choose, it would be biking.
Yeah.
If shoes could talk, what would be the first thing they would complain about?
why are you running so much? What is wrong with you?
What is your favorite pastime? Like reading, TV shows, whatever.
Watching sport, like football, soccer, or MMA, like the UFC, and then running. Yeah, any sport's good.
Do you still do any MMA stuff?
Fully stopped. Yeah, it wasn't quite compatible. Getting your body kicked to pieces and then trying to get out for a run. It's a
Yeah.
tough one.
My cousin in Louisville, Kentucky, he got into MMA for a while and he had to stop as well. He was trying to lift pretty heavily. And it's like, I feel like if you do MMA, you got to solely do MMA because it was just destroying him.
Yeah, pretty much. That and running, just the running helped the MMA, great fitness, but it didn't go the other way.
I'm sure you got like halfway injured. Like if you got like tweaks in your quads or hammies, if you got kicked or something.
Oh, for sure.
What
Jake,
is your what streak? What?
I was going to ask if you watched the Jake Paul Floyd Mayweather fight.
Unfortunately, yes. And it's the last boxing fight I watched. That's so bad.
It was
But
bad.
boxing's just so boring in comparison, and that especially, yeah, it's a joke.
What time was it in Japan when it aired?
Oh, it's pretty good. It's like midday, so yeah, easy watch.
Yeah, for us it was like 12:30 a.m.
Oh, yeah,
It was
you didn't want to stay up for that. It wasn't worth it.
Everybody lost sleep for no reason for that. What is your favorite Japanese phrase?
Oh, I like after or before training, they say like "gambari masho," which is like kind of translates to like "do your best." It kind of just means like give it everything, basically. Like "gambatte," yeah, it's like they'll shout it during races, like "gambatte, gambatte." Kind of like we'd say like "let's go." Pretty much just saying, yeah, like give it everything.
I love that. Are you fluent in Japanese now?
Oh no, absolutely no way. I'm like I'm like a 3-year-old Japanese child, the equivalent. It's such a tough language. I feel like it'd take years and years to get fluent.
Interesting. If you had to sing a karaoke song, what song would you choose?
Mr. Brightside. It's a classic. Can't go wrong with that.
What a great quick answer. If you were arrested tomorrow, what would your friends assume you did?
Oh, back in the day, it would have been something on a drunk night out. Where if it was uni days, I don't know. But nowadays, yeah, I basically don't drink, don't go out. So it could be anything. I'll have to think about that one. Yeah, I can't hit you with a quick fire on there.
It's all good, man. What's your favorite Japanese food?
Or again, a tough one. I love everything. Probably anything with rice. They do these bowls with like beef on, or like seafood, chicken, basically anything with rice in it. It's just good, filling, solid food.
Hot tub or sauna?
Or hot tub.
Last question. We ask everybody this question, and you're allowed to elaborate. Why do you run?
I'm so competitive that I just want to see how good I can get, and I just love getting out for a run. Like even if I can't be bothered beforehand, as soon as I get out the door, I'm glad I got out. I'm glad I'm running. And it's that constant improvement. I like with running, you can easily see how you're getting faster. Compared to other sports, it's a little harder if there's technical skills involved. Running, it's so simple. It's time based. Exactly. You see that progression. So I think, yeah, I just want to get as good as I possibly can.
Love that. Are you competitive with yourself or with others?
Both. I hate losing, and equally, I just really want to do better than I've done before. Like I want to keep improving, keep PBing.
Yeah. Is the competition around you pretty intense, like with races and stuff? Like, are you bottom of the totem pole, or you say that you would like get podium on some races and stuff?
It massively depends in Japan. Like recently I've done races where I've podiumed in like 3 or 4 sort of marathons, half marathons. But then there's certain races where, for example, my half marathon PR that year, like I ran that last year, I ran like 65 minutes for the half, and I was 140th, I think, in the race. So like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, the depth is just next level. So if you go in a competitive race, I'm getting absolutely smoked.
How depressing. A PR at 65 minutes in 140th place.
Yeah, it's sad. It's very sad. Only in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I
like a
mean,
ton of Japanese marathoners going under 220. What's in the water in Japan?
That's the training. They just put us to shame in the West. Like the 150-mile weeks is just standard practice here. No one bats an eyelid. Whereas back home, that's seen as insane. But yeah, they're just marathon machines.
yeah, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if it's just like something ingrained in like the culture where they can just like get out there and like do mindless. Like you talk about in your videos, like they'll do like marathon long runs just on like a mile loop at the park, and it's just like it doesn't bother them, you know? And it's like I think that's maybe just like a mindset thing in Japan, just like patience and you know, being able to like shut your mind off and just and do things. I noticed like too, even when we were like waiting in like long lines there, like everyone was so patient. They're just I don't know, like people like today, for example, at work, I was like in a line at lunch and people like it was taking a long time. People were like getting like real like frustrated about it and stuff. I mean, there was long lines everywhere in Tokyo because it's so populated, but there's just something about the culture there. I don't know that it just makes sense.
I think it suits the marathon perfectly. Like it's all about perseverance and basically sticking at it, just grinding it out. It's not always fun and pretty. It's just literally getting out the door. And that's so Japanese. Like the long runs, just like I've done like 27 miles or so around a 1 kilometer loop. So and yeah, that's pretty standard out here for like long runs. It's
Oh
almost
my.
they almost take the enjoyment in a way out of running and just see it as like it's kind of yeah, it's not necessarily about just like having fun with your friends. It is almost a profession more in kind of, but even the guys that aren't professional runners, they'll run in dead silence, just in a line, knocking out the splits, like perfect timing. So it's that kind of just like monk-like discipline, just super locked in, which is pretty different to, I think, how people train back home.
Are people in their 20s and 30s, if they're not below like 240 in the marathon, are they even like running, or do they just go do something else because they feel like they stink at it?
People love it. Actually, that's the thing, that there's no like barrier to entry. Like there'll be people, loads of people, like 3 hour marathoners, 4 hour marathoners that are still doing it. Um, So I say you've got a massive spectrum. Like yeah, there's still tons of slower runners, but it's just at the top end. There's also so many quick runners, I think, which is the difference.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
It was funny at the park at Yoyogi Park. I saw your group working out. You guys were probably the fastest group in the park, and but I also saw like a group of like 60-year-old dudes just like in formation, all in like vapor flies, alpha flies, like hitting an interval session, and they were going like 6:30, 7 minute pace, but like they're like changing shoes for the workouts. They like brought their backpacks, like bottle. I mean, like they were taking it very seriously, and it was pretty cool to see. I mean, yeah, he's right. I saw it at the park. It's like a running is like a cool thing there. It's super cool. I was gonna ask, Jake, so kind of for context for the listeners, what was your marathon PR when you moved to Japan, and what's your marathon PR now?
So I'd only done that one in Savannah when I was out there. So it's 30, I think 2:37 maybe. Um, and then now it's 2:17, which is my second marathon. Um, So yeah, a fairly big jump, you could say.
Yeah, dude, I mean, that is crazy. I mean, what was the time gap between those, like a year or two?
Yeah, it would have been under 2 years, probably. Yeah, year and a half, maybe.
It's
Am I
crazy.
sorry?
Dude, I mean, you would
To
have,
give some
so,
context with the, yeah, sorry, with the sort of 237. So I was kind of training like an MMA fighter until a few weeks before that. So at the time I was weighing, I was probably 175 pounds. So carrying like some fair bit of upper body muscle, was doing 2, 3 hours of MMA a day, like after my morning run. So it completely switched. Like when I went all in on the running, like I lost, yeah, 30 pounds, probably 25 pounds of just like muscle, which makes such a big difference. And then tripled almost my mileage, stopped the MMA, and that, yeah. So it was a massive jump, but I think those factors are pretty big. Yeah, a big part of it.
dude, I mean, gosh, that's crazy. Tripled your mileage. When you moved to Japan, like, did you have any like guidance or coaching or anything, or did you just like, start just like tripling your mileage, hopped in a group and you were off? I mean, or so was it like self done, or did you have someone helping you out?
Fully self-coached. Yeah, yeah. The whole time I've just done my own thing. The funny thing is, I'm actually all of my like training philosophy was based on the research I could find about Japanese runners from. It was a lot of it was from back in like the 90s. Looking at their training. So like Japan, like Japanese marathoners were the best in the world in the 90s or so, 80s, 90s, before like the Kenyan, Ethiopian like uprising. So I basically look back. I was like, at the time, you had all these guys running sub 210, like before super shoes, all of that, and I was just
Like,
like, I want to train like that. I want to, yeah, smash the miles. It seemed like they weren't necessarily the most talented runners, but they were just easily the most hardworking. And I realized quite quickly that my biggest talent, I think, was the durability. I could handle the mileage without getting injured, where a lot of people found they were getting problems like as soon as they go over, I don't know, 100 miles a week, everything would fall apart. Whereas that didn't seem to happen for me. So I decided I'm just going to fully like go down that route, buy into that, and just see how far I could kind of push the mileage.
How was that adjustment period when you started pushing your mileage like that? Like, did you jump up all at once, and how did your body react to the stress?
So, so actually just so when I kind of decided to go all in on running, classic time, and I tore my hip labrum. So this is before I even started pushing up the mileage at all. So I had to have 8 months off completely and like surgery to repair my hip. So starting at the beginning of would it be 2023, I was on literally 0 miles a week, and then was building back like minute walk, minute jog, that kind of thing. And quite quickly after a few months, I maybe got up to, I don't know, 20 miles a week. And then from there, pretty much every week, just added 5 to 10 miles on. So within, let me think, I started running in March of 2023. And by August, I was on 120 miles. And it was pretty much just a progressive overload. And it was, I mean, yeah, for people listening, I wouldn't recommend this, but I pretty much just decided to run through every pain, every ache, because there wasn't pain free at all. Like every day I was waking up with some new little like niggle here, like some pain in my calf, quads, back, whatever it is. But I kind of just kept pushing through it, and everything kind of eased off. And basically, I found like my body just adapted over time. With like, right, we just got to get used to this somehow. And that just became the norm. And then, yeah, I could knock out 230, like, what's that, 140, 150 miles a week. And that kind of became the standard.
dude, that's interesting. So you weren't necessarily pain free, like you weren't injury free per se. I guess you didn't have any tears, right? You didn't have any like maybe hardcore strains, but I mean sometimes like there really isn't a better word for it. It feels like a weird word, but niggles, like It's like a weird little thing that hurts for like a week or something. But did you have any PT or dry needling or massage or like anything to help you through this, or did you just straight up just run through it?
Yeah, literally none of that. I think when I was in the UK, it's too expensive paying for like massage and stuff. So I just got on the foam roller, um, and just did. I tried to, so around that, do a lot of the strength and conditioning. There was a lot of stuff I had to do for my hip. So like coming back from this surgery, there was tons of strengthening exercises. I was like smashing out all of that. As much stretching, yeah, foam rolling, massage as I could fit in. I think massively as well, prioritizing sleep. So during my like university days, I was useless with that, like trying to go on nights out and stuff, and then get up on 3 hours sleep, go for a run, and like no surprise, I was constantly ill, constantly injured. Whereas I was like, okay, I'm 8 hours a night. There's no debate that like I'm getting 8 hours, whatever. So like that, I'm just like super like strict with that. Made sure I was eating tons. So like with that mileage, you obviously got to be fueling well. Um, and then yeah, I kind of like you said, they were like small little niggles, like, but nothing major. Like there was no tears, just sort of these little aches and pains you get where maybe some people would take time off, but I found I didn't need to, and actually just running through it, it helped to kind of just adapt, and like my body, yeah, got used to it.
Hmm. That's
How did
crazy.
you like find a group to run with in Japan? Because obviously there's the language barrier. I mean, did you just like find them on Strava, like look at Strava segments at Yoyogi Park, or like how'd you find your group?
So I'd actually wanted to join the uni that I was a part of. So my university was they're like a very, very good running team. I mean, like 20 guys running under 65-minute half marathon. Like, yeah, I mean, they'd be better than almost any team in America, I'd say, if you put their 10K average, whatever half marathon average, to like legit team. But they had a rule, so they wouldn't let foreigners join, which quite a few of the best Japanese teams have. They're like traditional ones that they want to keep it pure Japanese, because it's kind of that's the way it's always been. They've got a bit conservative, so I wasn't allowed to join that. So I just kind of spoke to a few people. I had a few connections of like other foreigners in Japan, and people mentioned this team who trained at Yogi, who were basically the best non-pro team or like university team in Tokyo. A lot of them used to be pro runners back in the day, and now are like retired from pro running, have families and stuff. So it was kind of perfect to jump in with them, and they were like really welcoming. I spoke, yeah, not a word of Japanese at that time, and they just kind of let me join in, and yeah, so it worked out pretty well.
I'm curious, like, I mean, well, I guess you said like they welcomed you with open arms. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say like, what was the, I don't know, like the like friendliness of the group, like when you first like showed up for the first time? Because like, I mean, you're probably like the first like red-haired British dude they've ever seen in Japan, right? So it's like, I'm curious, and like obviously there's the language barrier too, and you're like now like hopping into workouts with them. So I mean, I guess like my question is more like for you, like how uncomfortable was that for you, like really stepping out of your comfort zone and like joining a group of dudes that are like really nothing like you?
Yeah, from my perspective, I don't remember being like nervous really to kind of jump in. Um, I think it was, yeah, I literally just shot the leader just on Facebook, like a message, and was like, oh, I think at the time as well, I was coming in as, I think for my half marathon, I'd ran maybe a 72-minute half marathon. And like all of these guys were sort of maybe 66, 67 at least. And so I wasn't even close, but I basically just said to the guy, I was like, oh, I want to run 65 half marathon soon. Um, like, can I join in with you guys? And he didn't ask to like see, oh, what have you done before? What times? He kind of just accepted. He was like, yeah, I guess this guy wants to run quick. And so I came along to one session. Everyone was very friendly. I mean, everyone taking like pictures and stuff with me. I guess because yeah, it's just like this rare white foreigner guy, like it's like a novelty. But then I guess and then they realized, I think within a couple of weeks, no, I'm actually legit, because I kept coming back and showing up. And it's not, I think it's uncommon for someone, because you have to get up at like 5 a.m. to train with these guys. This like we're starting at 6:30. So I think they could tell that I was keen. Like I wasn't kind of half-hearted. I was ready to like go in all in on it. So I guess they kind of respected that, and like kind of got friendly with them from there.
And you said they're like always like right on time, or like they start like right on time. I know like for me, I'm like a few minutes late to everything. I'm like well known for that, so it wouldn't work well for me. So I'm curious, like, do they really start like right on the dot, like 6 or 6:30, or do they wait around if they know you're coming?
Nah, it's cutthroat. You'd be missing the start of every practice. It's literally if we say 6:30 for the start, it's on the dot every single time. There's no, and it's not like people are late. Basically, just I don't know how they just always are on time. It's something about just the Japanese like culture. Everyone's super just on it, and the same with like splits during workouts. Every split, if we're meant to be hitting 5:10 miling, it will be 5:11 to 5:09, and this isn't on a track. This is on a road loop. But there's just something about like this innate pacing, this just like metronomic like pacing that they've got that they kind of lock in.
Do you what I mean in terms of like your social life there, do you hang out with anyone in like these guys in Japan, or like have you made friends, or are you like I don't want to like, make it sound like you don't have any friends over there or anything, but like
Just a
I mean there's a
loser.
language barrier, right? But it's like, yeah, like what are you like pretty lonely over there, or do you hang out with people, or what's your social life like?
So so with the whole past year I was at this language school, and so everyone else there is all foreigners. So every day for 3-4 hours while I'm like at this language school learning Japanese, I'm hanging out with other English speakers, and then we go for like food and stuff after. So there's a good mix having like that Western like guys that I can hang out with, plus Japanese guys I'm friends with. And now, so I finished at the language school, but there's quite a few other kind of foreigners who are either like in the running scene or like mates from before who I can still hang out with. So it doesn't feel like, I'm just like this loser just sitting on my apartment in mine. It's obviously different to like back home, but there's still a good amount of social side here.
I saw so one of your videos you went to the training camp that a lot of the pros go to at altitude, and it was funny because I guess when you were there it was like only female marathoners there. What was that experience like? Because I saw too you had like a really long run there. You put in like, I don't know, like 160-mile week or something like that, something unbelievable. What was that experience like?
Yeah. I pushed the boundary with the mileage. I think that maxed out at like 175 miles for a week. But
Oh
yeah,
my
the
God.
average was like maybe 160 for a month. Um, it got me fit, got me in decent shape. But it actually wasn't meant to be a training camp. It was so part of this program that I'm on, this like scholarship thing. It was like a 1 month homestay in. It could be anywhere in Japan, but I basically chose because there's this super popular like high altitude spot that people go to in the summer. And so I managed to find this family who happened to have an athlete dormitory basically where a lot of the pro runners go and stay during summer, and so I could do my homestay with this family. So it worked out so perfect. Um, and it got to basically just live with, well, it was up to sort of 40 girls at some point who could stay in this accommodation, and then just me. It's like white English speaking guy. I think people were very confused, like, what is he doing here? But it helped with the Japanese. Yeah, it forced me to speak. Great conversation practice, and I could learn like all about their training and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see it firsthand.
Are you, I mean, how permanent is your situation in Japan? Like, are you, because I don't know how visas work there and stuff. I mean, are you planning on staying there for like the foreseeable future, or what's the plan?
Yeah, so my visa, I've got a year, so it's got extended. So I'm now doing this kind of work placement, and so till next year, I think September, I like my visa can last till. But I'm in no rush to kind of head home. Yeah, it sort of depends how the running goes, like what level I can get to with in terms of like sponsorships, joining teams here, that kind of thing. Because I'd love to get like a full-time permanent group, like join one of these pro teams or something, so I could have like a more permanent setup. So yeah, it's a bit up in the air, but yeah, I'm loving Japan. So I need to work on the Japanese. That's the biggest barrier. My 3-year-old Japanese that could do with some work. So yeah, if I could push that up a little bit, then I could see myself long term.
Well, I saw you putting your Japanese textbooks to good use in your last video, where you put them in your backpack and you do lunges in your
Yeah,
in your apartment that you're sitting in right now. I was like, I recognize that background.
yeah. I've been slacking on the studies. I think since starting my YouTube, the editing just takes so long. So I'm
Yeah,
just spending hours like doing that and pretty much no actual Japanese practice. Just relying on like chatting to my friends in Japanese, the other runners.
yeah.
But I think I am getting worse right now.
Do you think you could like live off the YouTube channel with revenue and stuff that comes from that, and maybe land a sponsorship and make it work that way?
That was kind of the angle I was going for. So it was like, as well as getting quicker with times and stuff, like getting sponsored there, the social media is such a big side as well. So
Oh yeah,
I think I'm surprised how quickly the YouTube started growing. And already I've had quite a few brands reach out. So I'm working on some like sponsorship deals at the moment. But
let's
it
go.
looks like that could be, yeah, like solid potential if I can grow that over the next kind of 6 months or so to like use that as, yeah, a solid income source.
Were you just wanting to document your journey? As I mean, it's a really interesting story. This Western guy sticks out like a sore thumb in East Asia, and like maybe what happened? Like you threw a dart at a map and it landed in Tokyo, and and you ended up there. I mean, this whole story is so interesting. So like, there's definitely an angle there that I think people is it just is attention grabbing by nature.
Yes, it's a good little niche that I feel like no one else has really gone down. There's plenty of running content creators and like runners that are better than me, like pro runners that are documenting the training. But I say, yeah, mine's very unique in I wanted to showcase as well as just my running outside like a bit of Japan, like showing the races across Japan, the culture, and kind of mix that in with the sort of vlog style, um, as well as yeah, the just I guess the volume of running I'm doing is pretty out there. So hopefully, yeah, that's kind of the selling point to why like people have enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's super out there. I mean, was that part of your reasoning that you moved to Tokyo? Was like part of the great plan was you were going to start a YouTube channel and make it part of your epic life story?
It hadn't been a factor. It was more when I decided I wanted to go to Japan and thinking about how can I make a career out of running, especially at the time when I moved, there was no possibility of turning pro. Like at that point, I'm like, yeah, 72-minute half marathon, like that's completely out the realm of possibility. So then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I've seen runners that are slower than me making full-time livings from YouTube. So it kind of worked out. And I was like, yeah, saw this angle as Japan being pretty unique and then tied it together and was like, yeah, I need to kickstart the YouTube then.
Yeah, it's doing great, man. I love your videos.
Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I mean, dude, you have like 30K followers and you have like 5 or 6 like full length videos. I mean, the traction you're getting already is insane. I mean, if you make like 10 more videos, you might have 100K already. So yeah, it's crazy. And you're right, it is a niche. It's a very interesting story. Um, I wanted to ask because I was watching one of your videos and I would love for you to explain Japanese like professional corporate teams and how that works because it's super interesting and it's very different than how US pros, get paid and have contracts. Could you explain that a little bit, how that works?
Yeah, sure. It's basically the reason why there's so many quick Japanese marathoners and half marathoners. So instead of having to try and get a full-time job and like run around that, which is very difficult if you're trying to take it to an elite level for the marathon. So here there's about 1,000 or so pretty much full-time runners. So they're employed to companies, so like Toyota, Yakult, Honda, like all the big brands, they'll tend to have a team and they have different sports teams, but like running's one of them, one of the big ones. And they pay, so they're kind of employees of the company, and depending on how good the runners are and which company, they might do 2-3 hours of work a day at that company. Just like a bit of paperwork and stuff. Very chill, I think. Yeah, it's kind of just an excuse to like pretend you're doing a bit of work and then they head off to training. So they can pretty much train like full-time runners. They have all this spare time. They're not having to like smash 40-hour a week of work, and then they can live like pros. They've got all of so they're like often they'll live in dorms, so that the accommodation's sorted. They'll have like chefs that cook all the food, a massage person, all the training camps paid for. So that's a pretty sweet setup. Whereas you think in like Europe, America, there's so few athletes that can go pro. I don't know, 10 maybe in each country, 5 that can dedicate everything to the marathon. Because you need so much time. I think it's so hard to be putting in 3-4 hours of training around like a full-time job. So that's, I think, a massive reason why there's so many good runners here.
So what's the compensation like? Are they getting like a full-time salary from a Toyota or something, or do they have a sponsor to like a, I don't know, Nike or Mizuno or whoever that's helping them that they're signed with?
So what's weird here is that almost no one's sponsored by shoe brands. So it's the complete opposite. So the team might be sponsored by Nike, but the athletes, they're actually a lot of time just buying their own shoes. So people have a mix of like Asics, Adidas, all kind of things. So their entire income's coming from the company, and they're not paid loads. So they might be on like an average salary. So what they get is like an office job, and then there might be bonuses for certain times or like performances, or if they run like the world championship standard or whatever, there might be like bonuses, but they're not making tons of money. It's more like the honor of being able to compete and like use it as a career.
Wow, I'm so curious, like what the incentive for the company to do that is. Like, is running just so important in Japan that like people, they like the CEO just like wants a badass team of runners that Toyota has?
I know it's hard to imagine like abroad, like no one would care. Just no, it's so different. I think it is partly running's just huge. Some of these relay races, the Ekiden, are like the biggest sports events of the year. Like the Hakone Ekiden, the massive one, the same level as Super Bowl in America. So like it's crazy, like 50 million people, half of Japan population watching it. So it's just, I guess, so much exposure. So they're running in the kit and stuff. So I guess it's like a promotion thing. And as well, they said it's like a cultural thing in that it like boosts morale for the other employees. If they see their team doing well, they can kind of get behind it, and it helps boost like company morale kind of thing. Was apparently that's like a big reason too. So it's so different.
I would love the like American corporate culture to take that on, because I feel like they order like a pizza party to boost company morale as like the old joke in America.
It's the culture thing. It's just next level here.
I knew one of my coworkers at Panera. She was a pro, ran for NAS Elite. It's a Hoka sponsored company out in Flagstaff, and she had a good setup where she worked part-time, working with like franchisees and franchises and stuff, and then she would go run. I don't know how much she was working, but she had a Hoka sponsorship. So I mean, that's just unheard of, having like a company sponsored team in America.
It's pretty ideal too. I mean, because you like whenever you decide to quit running, you already have your foot in the door in a company, and like still have some like company experience you can like throw on a resume. So because like American runners, pro runners, it's just like they rock up to a resume at age 32, and their resume is just like from 22 to 32, I just ran. It's kind of funny.
It's like most companies don't care at all. It's like, so you're basically unemployed for 10 years. But here loads of them go into that company. So like whatever company they've been employed with, like 99% will work for that company after. So it's like a guaranteed employment.
Interesting.
Jake,
Yeah.
I definitely want to.
Streak, I love that resume that you. I love that resume you shouted out. By the way, it's like from 22 to 32. I just ran the entire time. I was just running.
Only running straight, non-stop.
That is a reality of like most American pro runners probably. Like I can imagine it's like probably kind of hard to get a job, like yeah, they probably have a college degree, but it's like, you're pretty much starting an entry level job probably in your mid 30s. So it's crazy, man. Yeah, Jake, before I mean, you're running a marathon in like a week and a half, right? Fukuoka, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the big one.
Yeah, I'd love to preview that a bit. Talk about like your training block. I mean, did you have a good block, and what's your goal for Fukuoka?
It's been a bit of a shocking block recently. I feel like the start was very good. So like when I was up in the mountains and stuff, like it was all going very well. And then so for this block, I decided to use loads of races for trainings instead of just doing these endless laps around the park, like the 40 lap long runs. I kind of used some marathons as training runs, so running them at sort of 90%, and almost had like back to back races for, I don't know, 6, 7 weeks, like half marathons, a kind of mix. But just coming off the back of that, it's been a bit rocky. I don't know whether I pushed it a little too far. I didn't think the intensity was that high. But yeah, I just felt knackered like a few weeks back. It seems like I'm kind of coming good now, but it's probably too late. I've not managed to. So while like a lot of the speed stuff's gone well, I've got like the massive long runs in. I haven't been able to hit the kind of marathon pace intervals, which I think is so important for a marathon. If you're gonna, yeah, you need to kind of lock into that pace for the, I don't know, 4x4 miles, like 5x3 mile, those kind of marathon pace intervals, which is what I did a lot before. So I've been way off this time. So I think it's gonna be hard to pull out a PR for this one, but I'm more kind of using it as hopefully like a stepping stone for Tokyo Marathon in March. And we'll see what happens at Fukuoka. I mean, the way I see it is that I gain nothing by not PBing. So realistically, I don't know, maybe I'm in 218, 219 shape. But if I run that, I've ran quicker this year, so it doesn't help me move up the British rankings, doesn't improve my time whatsoever. So I'm just going to go at probably 215 pace, and just see how long I can hold it. I mean, there's probably a 90% chance I blow up and die, but whether I run 240 or 218, it's the same to me. So I might as well try and run quicker than that 217 and just, yeah, attack a PB. Go that Japanese kamikaze style.
I love it, man. Yeah, full send and you might crash, and who cares? Because it won't help you either way. Like unless you get a result you want.
You have experienced a significant amount of growth. Obviously, we just talked about it, like a year and a half, like an insane amount of speed, and an insane jump of miles as well. What's your goal with this? Are you just chasing it until you can't, or do you have a time that you're trying to hit?
It's pretty much trying to reach my talent limit, to just see. So, I mean, the dream would obviously, like, if I could get to the Olympics or something, it'd be insane, but it's so difficult. It's so competitive, and you can't beat talent at the end of the day. Like, I can train as hard as I possibly can, but at some point I'm going to reach a time where I can't improve anymore because I'm just maybe not genetically good enough. But I just want to do as much as I can to reach that barrier. So it's just trying to see how quick I can possibly try and get down to those kind of elite times.
How old are you, Jake?
27.
Love it, man.
We got time. Yeah, I feel like 30s is you're kind of hitting the peak. So yeah, hopefully plenty more to come.
Yeah, I think I mean if you made that big of a jump already to 217, I mean I gotta think like talent wise you can at least get down to like 212, 211, man. So yeah, I'm hopefully Fukuoka goes good and you make the next jump, but yeah, Tokyo would be that's an exciting race too to be looking forward to.
Jake, what's the process like for making the British Olympic marathon team? Like, what do you have to do to get there?
So it's got insane nowadays. So I've seen for the next World Champs, and I think it'll be the same for the Olympics. You have to run under 206, or I think it's about 206. So actually, the entry standard for the World Champs, which is in Tokyo next year, no
Oh,
Brit
wow.
in history has ever run. So it's just an absolute joke how quick they've made the entries time. But I think the idea is you can get in on world rankings. So something like the top, I don't know, the top 40 get in on time, and then the other 40 can get in through ranking. So it gets a little bit complicated, but pretty much I'd have to be top 3 in Britain, and the top 3 at the moment, so they're full-time pros, and there's like a pretty big jump from like the semi-elite guys to them. So they're kind of 208, 207 runners. So
Yeah.
the top is tough. It's similar to America. Like you've got Conor Mantz and Clayton Young and stuff. They're like top sort of guys. They're at the moment they're next level.
So there's no like trials marathon where, like in America, if you make top 3 in the Olympic trials, you're in.
Yeah, we don't have that. I think just because you guys have got so many more runners, I think it's just more depth, like more people. Whereas for us,
Yeah.
it's just if you run the standard, you're in.
Yeah.
Because so few people can do that.
Did you see in London this year, Emil Karras? He's probably the best British marathoner right now. He I want to say he ran 206, and he just wore like a stopwatch. He didn't wear a GPS
Oh my
watch. That was like that put the fear of God in me, bro. I was like,
He's
what
he's a
what like
legend.
a badass thing to do. Like just go out and run 206 and with a stopwatch on your wrist. Like
So
crazy.
old school. Yeah, none of the GPS, none of that. And then he came fourth in the Olympics. Like, yeah, he's our next big thing. He's unreal, Emil. Yeah, he'll run. If he ran at 20, he ran I think 206 on that Olympic course. So on a flat course, that's worth a 204, 203 at least, I reckon.
Yeah, he's major talent for sure. Well, anything else, boys? For Mr. Jake. Oh, Jake, where can people find you on socials?
Yeah, so I'm pushing the YouTube at the moment, so it's RanToJapan. The same on Instagram, RanToJapan. And if you want the full mileage, the stats, all of that, then Strava, Jake Barraclough, or RanToJapan, you should find it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll link your Strava, Instagram, and YouTube in the show notes if anyone wants to follow the journey. And anything else, boys, before we wrap up here?
Jake, it was awesome having you, man. I think I'm gonna start bumping it up to 150 miles a week. So
Same.
Yeah, I
I'm
hope we don't
telling
have
my
a whole load of injured people listening to this now. Try and copying the training. Don't try this at home. You've got to put that warning out.
not medical
Jake,
advice.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah.
So I haven't ran. I ran 100-mile weeks a lot in college. I ran at a Division II college in Kentucky, and I haven't ran 100-mile weeks in like probably 5 years. I'm 28 now, and last week I ran my first 100-mile in a while, and like I think you were a bad influence on me a little bit. I saw you running in Japan, and I had run a few 70-mile weeks coming off of Chicago Marathon, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna start running 100 miles and see what happens. So yeah, I think you were a bad influence on me, man. It's going well so far though, but yeah, we'll see how it turns out or how long I make it. So TBD.
Yeah, give it a few more months. You'll make that 20-minute marathon jump. I'm sure. It's all in the mileage.
Jake, you
Yeah,
have to be the only person I know that runs 150 miles and just says, just run through your injuries. You'll be fine. Or,
Ye-
or actually, you didn't say you'll be fine. You said, don't try it. It's not a good idea. But I was fine.
Yeah. The case study is one of one at the moment. I've been all right, but I can't guarantee for everyone else.
Dude, it's crazy. That's props to you, man.
yeah. I'm really excited to see where you end up. I think like just to be able to run that kind of mileage and not get injured. Yeah, you got. I don't know. I think there's some big results ahead of you, man. It's super exciting.
Hopefully.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
yeah,
cheers for having me on, guys. It's been, yeah, great little chat.
yeah,
dude.
yeah. No worries. Yeah, episode 88,
Keep
guys. Make sure
grinding.
you. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Scotty.
I just said keep grinding. Good luck on your marathon next week, dude. PR.
I appreciate it. Let's go.
50.
All or
We
nothing.
are.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the States,
yeah,
we say this little phrase called PR or ER. You choose one or the
I like
other.
it. I like it. That's gonna be full on. Yeah, that's the mindset for this one.
All right. Life in Stride listeners, episode 88, Jake Barraclough. All his links are going to be in the show notes. Make sure you follow him. And peace. Love you, mean it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.